What's up, everyone? Tyler Tamboline here, a.k.a. Toe Tag and Tambo. We're back. Wednesday winner show. Got the crew here. Got an unusual crew this time. Title's out. We got Hoopster in with us, so it's a unique crew. I don't think we've had the three of us on together yet, but we got Locks, got Hoop, got myself. We're going to go through everything as always. 9-game slate converted to an 8-game slate. Of course, we had some travel up issues, I guess, with Detroit, Washington, so that'll be off the slate. I know we had Zinger on the title box there, man. Go and hopped in the chat right away. So we should just never put that guy on the thumbnail again. I don't disagree. He's never done me well, so I'll go with you for the future on that, man. Going, but Locks, I'll bring you in first. We got no title, so I'll bring the regular in. How you doing on this Wednesday, my friend?
Yeah, doing well. Glad to have Hoop on the show with us. Obviously, an upgrade maybe from title. Obviously, we got to throw a little jab at title a little bit, but I'm glad to have you on, Hoop. Ready to dive in here. Obviously, we got one less game tonight. Just to touch on some injury news, the most important ones, I think, are Joel Embiid, Rudy Gobert, Wendell Carter, Desmond Bane, and Robert Williams. We're obviously waiting on those ones. I think those are the biggest ones, so that's why I want to touch on those. But we'll dive through it, watching the Discord up the lock, and, yeah, ready for another week.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one here for sure. Everyone on the way in, do us a favor, hit that like button. We are going to go for 350. Hoop, I'll bring you in. Start us off, man. How you feeling on this Wednesday? What's going on?
Yeah, not bad. I mean, there's not I guess the injury news isn't very substantial. Obviously, Embiid is important, but the rest of the stuff's not too bad, which is pretty rare for, well, I guess it's 8 games slate, went from 9. Funny story about that real quick, which you guys might appreciate. So last night before bed, my son, he's 8. He's, for some reason, it's really cold here. It's like 7 degrees. So he's like, Dad, where's somewhere that's hot? And I was like, I said, type in Dallas, because that's where my brother-in-law lives. I was like, type in Dallas where Uncle Todd lives. So he punched it in. It was like 25 degrees, winter, storm watch. I was like, it's really, I said, it's usually warm down there. I said, that's crazy. And then sure enough, the Pistons plane gets stuck there because of this winter weather storm. So it was fun. I did find him a warm location. We went to, what did I have him punch in? Miami was 75. So he's like, I thought you said Dallas was hot. I was like, it usually is.
It usually is. Now he's going to try and get you down to Miami there, Hoop. So you got to plan a new trip. That'll be upcoming. Want to give some shout outs quick before we get started. As people are filing in, hitting that like button for us, we do appreciate it. But some big hits last night. We had my guy Romeo S pulled through, got 35K on DraftKings. I know he was trying to reach out to me. If he's in the chat now, I think he wants to give away some stuff. So if we can have a big day here, might give away a ticket or two. Shout out to our guy Gary. Gary had a big night in NBA as well. Saw his screenshot this morning, a nice one. Couple tournaments he took down. And then, of course, our guy Big T comes through, snuck one out last night. He said he pulled a hoopster, went to bed, woke up to money. He hit himself a live final seat. He'll be joining Locks. I'm forever chasing this one. I've got the FanDuel one. Now I'm trying to get the DraftKings one, but he'll be joining Locks in Denver for the DK live final in March. So pretty good night for everybody in the Rumpier Sports Streets. A lot of other screenshots out there. Just thought I'd bring those 3 up to roll through. But we can get into this here, Locks. Anything else you want to add before we hop in? If not, we're going to start with Portland, Memphis, waiting on Bane news.
Yeah, no, nothing to add before we get started here. I'll jump into this one for us. Obviously, Bane's important. If he sits, obviously, it just makes me like Ja Morant a little more on that side. He's 10-4, but I'm okay paying that price tag for him tonight. And then Brandon Clark, over the last few games, like 10 games or so, centers have kind of killed Portland. So I'd say on the Memphis side, it's probably Ja Morant and Clark for me. I do have slight interest in Tyus Jones at 4,500 at super low ownership if Bane does sit. I think he can get 25, 30 minutes, and we've seen what he can do. So some interest there. On the Portland side of the ball, it's really, for me, it's just Dame Lillard. The guy's just been on an absolute heater, continues to chuck, doesn't miss. I mean, the guy's just a stud. So I can easily see myself playing maybe even both of these guys just to dive in on the first game. Could start out pretty hot here. So interest there. Josh Hart at 5,100. He's probable to play. I think he's going to. Definitely some interest there. I think he's going to be too high owned for me to get onto. So I can see if you want to go there. For me personally, I'll be off of him. And then the Nurkic news is obviously interesting as well. If he's out, Jeremy Grant becomes a smash play. If he's in, I probably got interest in neither one of the two and just Dame Lillard.
Yeah, the chat I think was talking to earlier about Simons as well. I think he had an okay night the other night. People were interested there, but with Hart being probable now, like you said, and Nurkic is probable, and the pretty much full squad is what we're looking at here. I think it comes down more to the Memphis side. Hoop, I'll kick it over to you on this same game here. What stands out for you? We usually play a little bit of if-then scenario. especially with Bane on that side, because right now the Memphis guys don't really pop that heavily because, no word yet on Bane. Kind of have to assume he's good until he's not. But if he was out, what would you do? And then talk about the rest of this game here.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it'd be a big boost to Morant. I mean, Dylan Brooks has been not great overall this season. The price is at 5.6, but probably would have to consider him a little bit. And then Tyus Jones would definitely get some more run. And he's coming off like a 29-minute game anyway. So he's like a regular rotation guy as is. So pretty important. But yeah, it would mostly be the guards for me on the Grizzlies side. On the Portland side, yeah, I like that idea, especially in tournaments. If you're hand building teams, get like a Dame and Morant, team together, assuming we have enough value. I mean, those guys have the potential just to obviously go off, get you some big time fantasy points, and they're priced where they might go like a little bit overlooked. So I don't hate that pairing. The only other guy on the Portland side that I'd probably consider is Jeremy Grant. Playing a lot of minutes. Played 42, 40, 34 minutes, but he's been shooting the ball a ton, 17, 19, 15 in the last 3. So I think he's in play here a little bit at that mid 6K price tag. But yeah, I mean, the Bane news, relatively important. John Morant for sure is the guy though that gets the biggest boost if he does sit.
Yeah, I'm going to wait and see on that because that definitely gets a little bit interesting if he was out. I like some of the calls that Locks brought up as well. We'll wait and see here. And then the other side of it too is just that you mentioned, like, if Hart is going to be popular at 5,100, which it looks like he will be, I've got no problem just plugging in some of the other guys in this game. You mentioned either a pay up with Dame Lillard. I talked about Simons. You go to Nurkic. Again, we always talk about center, how, again, you only get the 2 center spots. And then obviously anybody with dual, with the util and center, and then dual position eligibility, then you could get there. But I'm saying in general, you oftentimes don't want to waste those off. And so if you wanted to take a shot here, I'd have no problem with it because nobody's going there. And you're just playing somebody in the same game that could end up picking up all the peripherals and the points. Locks, anything else you want to add here? If not, you could take us to Orlando, Philly, where we are waiting on some news, of course, with Joel Embiid. Big news for this slate, as well as Wendell Carter Jr. on the opposite side in this game.
Yeah, interesting news here as well. Guys that I can see myself get to if they do play. If they don't play, obviously we'll look at it that way as well. I'll start with the Sixers. Joel Embiid, I think, is in an absolute smash spot again. I think he just played this Orlando team, crushed them in the first half, kind of slowed off a little bit, but didn't really have to play too hard the rest of the game. So I think if he plays, definitely interesting. I think he's coming in a little higher owned, so I'd almost rather pay for these 2 guards rather than get up to him. But if he's out, I love James Harden tonight. I think he's going to be low owned, could possibly smash with Embiid out. But if I'm playing anybody from this team, it's only those 2 guys. I don't trust Tobias Harris. I don't trust these guards. I won't play any of the bench guys there. Even if Embiid's out, I'm not playing like a Paul Reed or a Harrell. It's too hard to figure out for me, especially on like an 8-game slate like this. I'm just not getting there. So off of those guys, on the Magic side, it's really Banchero, $6,700. His price tag continues to come down, and we've seen what he can do. His usage has spiked a little bit here. Again, he's kind of back in the fold here, so I like him a lot tonight on that side of the ball. And then Markelle Fultz continues to play well at $5,800 at the point guard position. So those are my main 2 points of interest. If Carter's out, I do have slight interest in Mo Wagner. We've seen him play 21 minutes last game, got us 31 fantasy points. Actually, his last 2 games, 37 and 31. So some interest there at 3,900 with his upside.
Yeah, I feel like the reason I'm smirking a little bit, Banchero, I know we'd get even higher on him with the news if Carter was out, but we talk about him every single week. He did have a great game last game out, though. So interesting, and obviously price is down to 6,700. I know last week when we were doing the show, we were talking about him at 7K, I believe it was, and saying, he's a lock, but is he a lock? We don't know. Like, he's kind of a fair price. We do this every week with him, but definitely some good points you made there. Hoop, I'll flip it over to you. Same game. Again, got to play if-then with this one. Then the slate gets kind of cut and dry after that. We'll have a little bit more news as we go throughout the show. These are the early games, so we should get the news hopefully probably half hour or so from now. We'll have to wait and see, but go ahead, Hoop. Take us through this one, Philly, Orlando.
Yeah, I mean, Orlando's been a tough team for me all season. I mean, for the most part, I typically avoid them at all costs. Tonight, slightly different. I mean, if Wendell Carter sits, like Banchero, I think is a fine play. I think he's a fine play either way at 6-7. The price is a little bit down. He does have the big upside. Just has a lot of these mid 20 fantasy point game stinkers that really don't get you across the finish line. But I think he's worthy of being in the player pool tonight either way, and then he'll get the little boost, obviously, if Wendell Carter were to miss. But if Carter misses, like in terms of like the bench guy that comes in, they just have so many options. There's just so many guys on this team that could plug in and have a big game. It's just really tough to pinpoint. Same thing on the Sixers side. Like, I agree totally. Like with Embiid, like if he misses, like Reed, Harrell, like who the hell knows? So I don't know. I'd definitely give a big boost to James Harden. James Harden would be a phenomenal play. Obviously, if Embiid misses, Tobias Harris at 6K would become a play for me as well. And then if Embiid's in, definitely in the conversation tonight as a guy to play. I mean, we don't have some of these really high-end spends on the slate, so Embiid could just go ahead and nuke tonight. So I imagine he does play, but he's been questionable for the last few games, and he's been in there. So I think he plays. We'll see. Like you said, we should get it in like 30 minutes or so. But yeah, there's some plays here for sure.
Yeah, with no title on the show, Locks, I forgot to do the grand scheme overview on this slate. But one thing I'll say, just noticing it out of the gate and looking at it, Hoop just brought it up, and I wanted to go dig in. Embiid obviously looks great at 11-2. If he plays, let's assume he does for right now, and he gets in there. But other than that, there's a bunch of guys at like the 8 to 9K range, like just under 10K down to 8K, that you can get that sort of balance build in there. And I wonder, sometimes when we get that late news, let's say the news is that Embiid is in, people say, oh, well, now I can get there and I've got value other places I've already dreamt up and I'll go to him. And you might just not, you just might not have to. There's a lot of good plays in this mid-tier range that you can build out with. So we can move on though, Locks. I'll stick with you. We'll go to Brooklyn, Boston here. 224 is the total. Boston bigger favorites at home, but there's some options here. What do you think of this game?
Yeah, I mean, you got options here of some guys that can go off for us that I think this game's going overlooked, and it's got some star potential here. I mean, you got guys like Tatum, Brown, Kyrie on the other side. To me, if you're going to get all these guys, and I'm seeing them under 5% owned, I definitely have some interest anytime I can get that sort of leverage in tournaments like this. I mean, I got a lot of interest in Kyrie. We've obviously seen what he can do with Kevin Durant out. The guy plays a ton of minutes. He just chucks all day. He has to. Otherwise, they're not going to be in these games. I probably don't have as high interest on him tonight. I just 10-8, that's getting up there for me. So I don't think I'm personally going to get there. I'd rather play the guys in the couple games before him, like Lillard, Ja Morant, a little bit less expensive. I think they're going to get there, especially with the Celtics defense. I don't see Kyrie getting there for me. So really on this side, it's Seth Curry, it's Royce O'Neal. Those guys they get the minutes. They're cheaper. So I'll use my value on the Brooklyn side. And then the Celtics side, yeah, Tatum's always in play. But again, 11-1 price tag. I don't see myself getting there. I'd rather spend down for Jaylen Brown at $9,200 at basically the same ownership and with the same amount of upside pretty much. So that'd be my interest there on that side of the ball. I know Bob Williams is probably playing tonight, so I'm off of these big guys. Maybe I'll sprinkle in a little Brogdon, but 6,500 is kind of scaring me away too for him.
Yeah, the chat was asking Locks right quick before I go to Hoop about Day'Ron Sharpe. Had a big game the other night. Any love for him?
I don't have any love for him, no. Claxton's good. Day'Ron Sharpe, yeah, he's going to get us probably 15 or so minutes. I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to get there personally.
Yeah, the thing about these two squads is that they both are pretty much filled up. So it just depends on how you want to go with it. But again, you going back to Kyrie, who people have been sticking with all this time. You go to the other side. It's a little bit tougher because Boston has all their guys, at least with the Kyrie side. It's the same as it's always been. Hoop, thoughts on this game here? Kevin Durant's been out forever. That's why I bring up the Kyrie factor. But the other side with Boston, it's always like you're choosing between Tatum and Brown. I got this little thing, Hoop. I bring it up sometimes on the show when we got Boston on the slate, which we usually do. I feel like Tatum only shows up when he cares about the other side. Like if he's playing against LeBron, he shows up. If he's playing against Luka, he shows up. And I don't know if he's going to show up for just Kyrie and this Nets squad, but who knows? Well, what are your thoughts here on this game?
Yeah, so in terms of these guys here, I mean, you're looking at guys that all should be low owned, the big name guys here, Kyrie, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum. So in these situations, especially where, if this ends up being a close, competitive, high scoring game, where it's coming from. It's coming from these stars. So if I'm playing Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum, I wouldn't play them together. If you're playing one of them, I'd try to find a way to get like Kyrie in there too. Now it might be tough if you go Kyrie and Jason Tatum, but man, you just know it's coming from some combination of those three guys. So that's one thing to note. I think Royce O'Neal, 5.6K, played 28 minutes, got his 33 fantasy points last game. Fine with him for sure here. In terms of like the secondary pieces for the Celtics, I'm not really going to be on anyone really besides Brown, Tatum. Is Robert Williams, he's questionable in this one? Is that what it is or no? Am I just making that up?
I think he's probable. I believe he's going to play.
Yeah, he's good to go.
Yeah. So he's in. Okay. So yeah, I mean, not a ton. I mean, it would definitely focus if I was building these teams. It would focus on the stars here, and then maybe like Royce O'Neal.
Yeah, I agree. There's not much here for me actually. Like I don't really love this spot. I like this next game though. Hoop, I'm going to stay with you. We'll go back to the next one here. It's Golden State Warriors, Minnesota. We got the chalk of the slate in this one. Jalen Noel, 3,300. I know he's going to be pretty much, looks like at least the top owned guy on the slate as of right now at $3,300. But give us your thoughts here on this Golden State Warriors Minnesota game. 238 total, tight spread in Minnesota.
Yeah, so you got the big total here. You got the close spread. Teams that are definitely playing fast. The Warriors, I believe, their pace with Poole and that starting lineup has gone up significantly. On the Golden State side, a guy I don't mind, which I haven't played a ton of him, Draymond Green at 6'4". I mean, I think he definitely benefits from the smaller type lineup himself at the 5. He's had a lot of solid games. The price has not come up. He's been over 35 fantasy points in 3 out of 4 games. I think he's probably my favorite on the side. Andrew Wiggins returned and played 32 minutes, didn't really get the job done, but the price is low at 5.9K. So, I mean, if you're really looking to get exposure to this one, I don't necessarily hate going to him, but Klay Thompson, I keep talking about him, and man, like I hate the guy in terms of, do I think he's good for winning and losing basketball games, but man, playing upper 30s in terms of minutes and shooting at 20 times a game, his style of play is good for DraftKings. You get that extra bonus for the threes as well. Definitely in on Klay. So Klay and Draymond, definitely my 2 favorites on the Warriors side. And then on the Timberwolves side, D'Angelo Russell, right around 7K, coming off a stinker, but man, just playing so many minutes, 42, 38, 37, 37, 40 minutes, like just a ton of minutes. So I do have some interest in him. Anthony Edwards is just phenomenal. I mean, he's been really, really good. The price is getting up there though at 9.8. Interested in him. And then we got to wait and see with Gobert. And then you mentioned Noel at 3.3 kind of popping as a value. A lot of people will certainly be on him tonight, but yeah, it's a great game for fantasy. I think there's clear pieces on both sides that we can get exposure to.
Randone's in the chat said Steph lock.
Okay,
Steph Curry. I kind of like the Klay call actually better, but maybe it's just because the price tag is a little bit of shock there. And there's a guy I like later priced very similar to Mr. Steph Curry. So we'll go there next. But Locks, got to stick with you on this game, man. It definitely looks like stackable. Like it looks like people are going to stack it up. The pace from both sides. There's a lot of cheap plays or value plays within it. On top of the Gobert news that we're still waiting on, which could open it up even further. So give me your thoughts on this game here. How are you going to play with this one?
Yeah, and this one for me, it's just a few pieces. I do see a stack that you can get at pretty low ownership for a pair of studs that can just go nuclear for us. You got Steph Curry, you got Ant-Man. I mean, you play those two together, you're looking at probably a combined 12 to 15% ownership. And anytime I can get those 2 studs at that ownership, I'm willing to do it. Definitely interesting with the pace these guys have been playing at, both teams. So those are my main 2 points of interest if I'm playing this game. Klay Thompson, it's a guy I can't get right, so I get it, but I don't think I'm going to go there. I don't like him either, Hoop, and I won't play him. I can't get there. I'm not doing it.
Give it a shot tonight. I'm telling you, he's got the upside. Look at the 3-point attempts his last 3 games, 10, 14, and 14 3-point attempts.
Yeah, and Hoop, I don't want to cut you off here, Lux, but I just said this in the chat. It's funny you brought that up. Someone said 8 to 10 threes for Steph tonight. And I'm hoping they're talking attempts, because this is what's funny is you actually pull Steph's last 5. And again, it's a 5-game sample. It's nothing crazy, but just to bring it up, I mean, we look at this stuff. His attempts are 14, but then 8, 8, 8. After that, you go to Klay. in the same time in those same 4 games, and he's got him, I think, in every game, right? It's going to be 14, 10, 7, like on top of 8 and 15 before that. So I definitely think for the discount, you can always do that. The 3-point bonus on DraftKings, not on FanDuel. So you look at it from that perspective. I don't hate it. I understand though where Locks, I'll let it go back to you here where you're coming from, because you're also paying almost $7,000 for a guy that looks like a 45 ceiling. And it's like, is that really what I want to pay for tonight?
Yeah, and that's where it's tough. But then I do, and I listen to Hoop, and obviously Hoop's sharper than I am, so I'm going to have to play the guy. No. I think he's the one I'm going to have to play. The guy I will fade that a lot of people are playing here is Jalen Noel. I don't see it. He hasn't shown me enough for me to.
Why is he popping? Why is he popping everywhere? Like he's showing up everywhere.
That's what I'm wondering. Have you seen anything, Tambo? Because I don't know why he's showing up everywhere, and I haven't seen it.
From what I can tell and see right now is obviously it's a slate. We're a little bit starved for value at the moment. There's nobody real special. If you look at his numbers too, like even going back, and there's injuries and stuff to the side. We'll wait on more, but same guys that have been out for the most part. But when you look, it's 18, 15, 17, 12, 23. Like he can get you that. And at 3,300, he makes things work. The point would be, I guess, Locks, probably the best way to say it is if you don't go to someone like him for value, who else do you like at that price range to make other stuff fit? But back to my original point, and I'll let you go here, is that, like I said, you don't know, people doing that are likely finding their big spend. We know there's a lot of good plays. Like, what if it is like a Klay Thompson, Banchero type night where it's just 6,700, 6,900? You get some of those 8K guys in there. You get some 5K guys in there, and boom, you've got yourself a nice build where everyone has a floor ceiling combo. And if everyone uses Noel and gets a big dog in that doesn't go off, it can be a problem. So it's just something interesting to look at. Go ahead, Lux.
Yeah, and I can see that. There's another guard later on that's $200 more expensive, and he's a starter on a Houston team that's going to be in a high total game that I'd rather play than Jalen Noel. Rather than get my 16 to 18 minutes, possibly give me 15 points, I'll play somebody else at 25% ownership before I go there.
That's something I might be interested in. And good news, we can segue right to it because that's the next game. OKC at Houston. I always like these two teams going at it. I think it's always a possibility for upside battle, game stack, everything. It's not the same total as the game we just looked at. It's not the same spread. It's a little bit different, like OKC favored on the road by a few more points, but that doesn't mean anything. We know how that can change in a heartbeat. So not too concerned about that. It's all how you stack it up. One last quick note though, Locks, because I'm going to stay with you on this one, was the chat was talking about D-Russ on FanDuel. Probably better. Yeah, price, everything in that. But the thing is on DraftKings, when everyone's playing Noel at 3,300, you flip the build and go to a guy like Russell, even though you're paying up for it. I don't know exactly how LaMelo Ball finished last night. I know my boy AP was on him for a triple-double. We went all the way for the triple-double and the Hornets win, though, so I didn't get the 80-1 or the 50-1. But the triple-double did hit. I could have got that at just 16-1. And I think it was JSU who said it on the Up to Lock show. Somebody said on the Up to Lock show, you guys aren't a member, get over to runpuresports.com. You get access to that premium show where you can get all these little tidbits and stuff up leading up to the building your lineups at Lock. And he said, like, why don't you just, everyone's like, oh, go play LaMelo. He's a lock on FanDuel. Yeah, that's true. But if he's going to score you enough points to make sense on FanDuel, and the price is different, sure, slightly, but he's saying, why don't you just, what I always talk about, pay up for probability, use him on DraftKings, and if he still goes off for the triple-double like he did, that's still pretty damn good for what you spent. And so in this case, Russell costs a lot more. We'll see how the injuries shake out. Point being, though, you can flip the build when you go do something like that. So go ahead, Locks, talk us through it. And then if not, you can just go to this OKC Houston game.
Yeah, I don't mind the Russell call. Definitely, the guy's been playing really well. And, yeah, that's a way you can get different from that other side of things of playing Noel is because everybody's going to jam him for the value. But I don't see myself getting Russell, but I don't mind it. I see what you're saying there. But, yeah.
Wait, one more thing. Sorry to cut you off. I got to go to it, though. Wiggins' revenge, people want to talk about? Like, how many times has he played this team since that?
Everybody always wants to throw in a little revenge game. Yeah.
No, we don't need to go there. Go ahead. Get back to where we were talking about. I just thought I'd bring that up.
Is Wiggins on the flow chart? No, he's not on the flow chart. I can't play him. Then if he's on the flow chart, I'll play a revenge game. But no, going to this other game here. Where are we going? Houston, Oklahoma City?
You're going to tell us about Daishawn Nix, I think.
Yeah, so Daishawn Nix, I just rather play him at 3,500. I mean, he's a starter. Yeah, he hasn't looked the greatest, but, I mean, he's starting at $3,500. He's going to get you probably 25 minutes. I'd rather play that than hope to get, 18 minutes and 15 fantasy points out of Jalen Noel at 25% ownership. So I would just rather go there. This team, though, on the Houston side is where I'll start, is Şengün. I love $8,800 at center. I see him getting a little steamed up here, but I'm okay with it. He's just in an absolute smash spot with KPJ and Jalen Green still out. I just think, we've seen the guy run point a little bit. He kind of does everything. So I don't know how you can't get this guy in your lineup. A lot of interest there. Eric Gordon's the other guy. 5,300 is getting up there for me. So I just got to wait and see if his ownership's going to be like 30%. I might stay away just because of that price tag and try to find some value elsewhere. But KJ Martin's look good. Tari Eason's look good. This whole team really, in this game, is going to be a lot of points. You can kind of pick your poison here. For me, it's probably going to be Şengün, Nix, and Gordon, Eric Gordon for me. On the other side of the ball, SGA, absolute smash spot. He's 10-2. He's right up there with like Lillard, Morant. So I wish I could somehow get all three of these guys. That'd be nuts, but there's no chance. I'm not doing that. But SGA just in a smash spot. I don't really like anybody else from this team. I like Kenrich Williams if he starts at 4,600. If he doesn't start, I'm not playing him. I got burnt by that the other night when he came off the bench, and he just absolutely toasted me. So he's a guy I'm only playing if he's in the starting lineup. So watch for that, obviously. And then Jalen Williams without the Y, $5,300. He's another guy, just continues to play all the minutes he can handle. He's probably going to get us 35 minutes. His usage can be there. It's just whether or not his shot's falling. So some interest there. But for me, it's SGA, Şengün, and Nix probably are my three favorite out of this game.
We can always just leave the Y out now. It's Ja Len or it's Jay Lin. That's how we'll know. Len or Lin is when we're talking about this OKC team. They got two of them there, but the chat is just killing me right now, Hoop, because we're talking everybody a revenge game now. It's Kyrie versus Boston. We're going back to 2019-20 season when Russell played for the Warriors for a season. People are talking about that one now. It's like, get all your revenge guys into one lineup here because everybody wants to play the revenge narrative always. Talk us through this one, though, Hoop. This game does have some good access that we can get to it here. I like some of these guys quite a bit, actually.
Yeah, a very sexy fantasy game here. On the Rocket side, a lot obviously to like. Eric Gordon, we talked about the flow chart. If you happen to be a member at Run Pure Sports, let me just fill you in a little bit. He ranks pretty highly on that old flow chart. And yeah, the 5.3 isn't a great price tag, but man, he's going to play at least 30 minutes. He shot it 17 times last time out. He'll shoot a lot of threes. Will also miss a lot of threes. He went 1 for 8 from three-point land last time and still managed to get 37 fantasy points. So I'm in on him despite the high price tag. Nix, I'm cool with. I agree. Like the Nix over Noel for sure. Like I still am confused by the Noel thing. I get that we're starving for value, but man, like I'd rather just go balanced opposed to playing like Jalen Noel. KJ Martin's fine, and then Şengün is in obviously a really, really good spot. So I think 4 pretty clear plays on the Rocket side. On the Thunder side, SGA is in a phenomenal spot here. If this game stays close, I just cannot imagine him not going off. If we get a close, competitive, high-scoring game, seems like a lock to get us like 60. And then Giddey's price, where I just don't love him all that much, at 7.7. So for me, it's SGA on the Thunder side, and then those 4 Rockets guys that I think are all solid options tonight.
Yeah, we missed a revenge play earlier too. Markelle Fultz going back against Philly. That might be like the best one I've heard all night. That might actually be solid. $5,800, especially if we have injuries there that lead just to more potential usage. It's not like I don't think this is going to change that much, but just in general, that might be the best one that somebody brought up. Keep them coming, though. We like the revenge narratives as we go throughout it. Someone said he just had revenge 2 days ago. Yeah, there's always revenge games out there, every single one. So Fultz was the interesting one. Going back to this game here, you talked about SGA was the guy I was bringing up earlier when Randone dropped in the chat. He likes Curry. I could go down and play somebody like Klay Thompson and go and use that same money on my guy, SGA. I like SGA quite a bit. I think this is a really good spot. I don't see ownership being huge on him. I do see some, but it doesn't
just to touch on him, Tambo. Sorry, just to throw it in there. In all of 23 so far, this whole month, SGA hasn't scored less than 40 fantasy points. So, if you're looking for a floor, that's a pretty darn good floor on a guy at 10-2 that's not going to have a whole lot of ownership.
Yeah, I definitely like him always. And I think that you just look at 2 of the last 3 games, almost 60. So the price is fair, the floor upside combo. he also fits sort of that balanced build. If you don't end up getting money, like let's say Embiid's in or someone like that, where you're talking about with Tatum at 11-1 or those setups, Kyrie 10-8, if you can't get to that, you could start your lineup with a guy like SGA and then still be able to balance it some throughout. Maybe you take the Knicks play or one play that we've talked about that gives you that balance, but now you still have an average of 6,000 to 7,000 for the rest of your spots. You get some 5.5Ks, you get some 8,300s, guys like that in there, and you can make it all work. So don't hate that. I think this is definitely a good game, very stackable. The Sengun play was brought up quite a bit. You guys, the chat, everything there makes a lot of sense. Fair mid-tier price again. So even like a mini stack of like Sengun at center with SGA, and then maybe you plug in like Knicks or something just to say he's out there with them. Like they could definitely work. I like the flow chart, Eric Gordon call hoop that you brought up. So all that stuff can work. This game definitely has options that you can go to. So we can move on. Locks, I'll go to you, man. We'll go to Sacramento at San Antonio here. Big total, 244. It might be the highest on the slate, but then it all comes down to who you trust here. The Sacramento side, I think there's guys we can trust and that I like, but San Antonio is always a bit tougher to get right. Go ahead.
Yeah, this one's tough too, and there is some interesting news that we actually are still waiting on. I know it might not seem important, but it kind of is for this game. Josh Richardson is questionable. I think Langford's still questionable, unless you guys got that news. Have you guys heard anything on those guys yet?
Yeah, Richardson probable. Sorry, still waiting on Langford though. Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, there's a little bit of stuff there. Josh Richardson is, I mean, kind of interesting to me at $4,500 if Langford's out. Obviously, we've seen him get the minutes, and when he gets the minutes, it's normally when a guy like Langford's out. He can get us 25, 30 fantasy points in the matter of 22 minutes or so. So definitely some interest there. He's going to be low owned. I don't have any interest in Trey Jones at 5,600. The only two guys here are Sokan and Podol. Podol's price tag of 5,500. I think he's probably one of my favorite plays. I don't think he's going to get super high owned, but I think he's in a great spot for his price tag against this Kings team. So he's probably my favorite. Jeremy Sokan at 5,200. I think he's probably my next favorite on this side of the ball. Those two guys for me on the Spurs side. And then, yeah, I mean, Sabonis, Fox, they're both in absolute smash spots. I feel like every time I play Fox in a smash spot, he just screws me. So I'm probably going up to those other three studs that I mentioned at the guard position rather than paying down for Fox in this game. If I'm going to play anybody here, it's going to be Sabonis for me. I'm not jumping on the Harrison Barnes love. Yeah, he gets us the minutes, and I think that's where everybody's kind of leaning to tonight. But I'll pick my poison elsewhere. I'd rather play Sokan on the other side of the ball for $200 more. I just think he has a little bit more upside and has shown us a little bit more there. So not really any other interest other than Sabonis and Fox on the Kings side.
Yeah, I like a couple of those calls. Even the Richardson one, the chat said you said Trey Jones, but don't forget Trey Lyles, revenge tonight. So keep that revenge narrative going. But yeah, there's definitely plays within this game. I like some of those. Even the San Antonio options you brought up, like 4,500 for Richardson, or you go to Sochan at 5,200. They can hit 30 plus like they have. They could do it again. The price is fair. They fit that balanced build where, again, that's not much of a swap. I didn't see the 2v2 yet, Locks, like I normally do. Like I'll bring up an example. Yeah. But if you see like a Noel and someone, it can maybe be like a Sochan and somebody else, and then you're not really risking it with Noel, and the other guy can probably have just as much upside as what you see here. So, Hoop, I'll go to you for this one. Give us your thoughts on the same spot here. Like you said, really just waiting on Langford news. I think he's kind of the last piece there that's big, but not huge. It's just more, does that free up more value for somebody else?
Yeah, I mean, the Spurs are just, very tough team for me. I typically kind of shy away from them. It's worked out well for the most part this season. I think my favorite on the Spurs side would be the Sokan dude at 5.2K. He's showing the upside. He's been pretty consistent lately. Very consistent. He's been in at least the mid-20s for, it looks like, 8 straight games. So at 5.2K on a slate where we don't have a lot of value, I think he's a potential play for me. I'll pass on like Trey Jones and Pirtle. And the Spurs are just not fun. On the Kings side, Sabonis he just hasn't been great lately. And it's mostly like the scoring. He hasn't scored like 16, 15, 19, 18, 16, 13. And the fantasy point totals have been lacking as well. Now he's capable of absolutely going off. Don't get me wrong, but I'll be under on him. If I'm going to play a Kings guy, it would definitely be Fox over Sabonis. I'll just take that discount, $1,700, and go there. Harrison Barnes is another guy that's kind of popping, and I think it's just a result of what we all touched on. There's just not a ton of value today, so projection sites are going to push some of these fringe guys. Yes, Harrison Barnes is going to play a lot of minutes, but he just never does anything. So don't love that play. I'm going to be under on this game. Don't like it all that much.
Yeah, I just think the one thing, and again, it looks like they're showing some ownership, but like the Sabonis Fox, those two guys can just go off at any given time. Sabonis 9,900 again would fit that balanced build. Same with Fox. Fox is 8,200. He was one example earlier, but do you value them more than some of the other spots that we talked about? And that's where it makes it a little bit tough, to Hoop's point. And then again, if you're just looking at it, big total, of course, seems good. But then how do you pair it all out? And it's hard to really mix down. Sometimes, like we say, even if it's the same in football, it's the same in other sports where there's correlation and stacking and stuff that people put into it. You don't have to do that in NBA, but oftentimes it's what's easier to put the plays in that makes sense and give you actual output versus, I have to play the big total because there's going to be lots of points. If you don't know where they're coming from, it doesn't make it that good to you. We've talked about that plenty in the past on here. Locks, go ahead. I already see you smiling at something. You take this one. Go ahead.
We're talking about Blake Griffin revenge game now. I mean, come on, guys.
I knew that's what you saw. That's why I said, go ahead. You take this one. But
Matty Ice, that's hilarious. I will not be playing Blake Griffin on his revenge game. I'll just say
that's taking the revenge to a level that I do not want to go to.
Yeah, not doing that.
I will touch base on the one comment, Keegan over Barnes. Yeah, I would gladly play Keegan Murray over Harrison Barnes all day. No doubt about it.
Yeah, with you.
I like that call too. Locks, I'll stay with you, man. Let's go. Yeah, we know you're trolling. It's funny, but keep them coming. They are pretty funny. Toronto at Utah. What are we doing here in this one, Locks? OG out, right? So we got pretty much everything we need on this game. So go ahead with this one.
Yeah, this game is pretty easy. This rotation is very easy to figure out, especially with OG out. We've seen what they do. Precious Achiuwa, absolute smash play at 5,700. I don't care about his ownership. I actually don't think it's going to be too crazy. I think you just have to put him in there at center. The way he's playing, the minutes he's getting, his usage is there. So I think he's in a lock for a double-double. Van Vliet's interesting to me. He can always get there for us. The guy just chucks every single night. The guy I won't be too high on is Markkanen. I'm probably going to be under on him for sure. Not a lot of interest. I do like Scotty Barnes whenever OG's out. He takes a little bit more of handling the ball, kind of fills up the stat sheet for us. So I'd say if I'm looking at this game, it's probably Precious, Scotty Barnes, Van Vliet for me on the Toronto side. You can sprinkle in a little Gary Trent just because he chucks as well. On the Utah side of the ball, I don't really see anything I want to get to with Olynyk back. Kessler hasn't been as solid. I don't know. I'm a little wary on this team. Nobody really does it for me there. So it's those three guys on the Raptors side. Other than that, I'm crossing this game off.
Yeah, it feels like the Toronto side, Hoop, has a little bit more love. Like, again, Locks hit it, but especially Fred VanVleet and then Achiuwa. But what are your thoughts on this one, Hoop? The other side, not as nice.
I think those two guys are phenomenal plays. I mean, Achiuwa has been great. He's only 5.7K, playing mid-30s minutes. He's paid off his price tag basically every single night. I see no reason to not go back to him. And then Fred VanVleet at 8.1K is back to playing a ton of minutes and getting at least 40 fantasy points. And he has the upside too. It's just, who is the guy we're talking about? Oh, you're talking about SGA and his high floor. VanVleet's a tier below that. He's he's going to get you upper 30s. He can get you, into the 50s and 60s. So I love VanVleet at 8.1. I love Precious at 5.7. Scotty Barnes I'm good with at that 7.4 price tag. But, as much as I like the Raptors, I'm having issues finding guys on the Jazz side that I want to play. Just haven't played Markkanen at all really this season. And, Jordan Clarkson, I guess, has an appealing price tag at 6.3. He'd probably be my favorite Jazz, but I don't know if I'll necessarily get there. So definitely not a ton for me on the Jazz side, but love those Raptors guys.
Yeah, I liked, again, similar price point. You talked about Thompson earlier. He was 6,900 versus Clarkson, 63. I would really try and find that money, at least at shooting guard position. Again, you can move guys around, but just saying in general, I feel like there's a higher ceiling, at least with Clay, and you can make those threes or take away if they swarm in on Steph Curry, who's trying to say, then you could see him have more open shots. So I do like that. The chat was asking too about Mike Conley, just looking at him, I mean, he's almost like the opposite, right? He's no ceiling, all floor. 33, 32, 28, 30, 34, 30, 18, 19. Like, it's just what he's going to bring for you. Rudy Gay, revenge game. Butthole in the chat. Oh, man. I don't know. I don't see much else here, though. I just was bringing that up because, like I said, some of those plays, that's the challenge with them. That's why Utah, it's always tough. You could try and pick your spot for a good marketing night, but for the rest of them, I find it's always a challenge trying to hit that because you're just guessing on these guys and you're playing them for, their fair floor that they can give you, but you're just really not going to get that much out of them. So it's really tough for me to get there. I'd rather take some risk. On at that point to try and get the upside one way or another. So last game here, Locks, I'll go to you, man. We got Atlanta at Phoenix. I think we were just waiting on Trae Young, right? And he's probable. So nothing else here injury-wise. Go ahead with this one.
Yeah, this game, obviously, if Young would have been out, we would have been talking about DeJounte Murray all day. But Young's in, I think. So I don't know. I do still have slight interest in both those guards. We've seen that they can get there. I personally don't see myself really holding out too much for this game. As far as the Hawks side of the ball, if I'm starting there, a slight interest in Capella, but at 6,200, I'm not probably going to get there tonight just on this slate. I just don't see myself playing many of these Hawks guys. If Young would have been out, like I said, I probably would have played DeJounte Murray and Bogdanovich. But with that guy in, I'm not playing really anybody from this Hawks team. I'm okay crossing them out tonight. And then the Sun side, really just Chris Paul is interesting to me. Nobody else really jumps out at me here. Maybe Torrey Craig, but I don't know. I haven't seen it. These two teams don't really strike me as, hey, this is going to be a super high-scoring affair. So I'm really actually okay not even waiting for anybody from this game and just exiting this one out.
Yeah, only news we got updated so far was the Joel Embiid news, and he's still a game-time decision, so there is no extra update there on anything else. Hoop, give us your thoughts on this one, man. It's the last game, and then we'll try and wait around for some news and stuff too and take some questions. If you guys want to throw some questions in the chat there, but Hoop, give us your thoughts on this one. It's a fair total, back and forth potential, but we looked at some great games before this. So give me your thoughts on this one here before we keep going.
On the Sun side, it's just I struggle to find anyone outside of Chris Paul, and I think he's a fine option. I think he gets 40 fantasy points at least. I think that's kind of the floor, and then he's showing us he still has that upside to get way up there. So what is he, 8-3? I think on both sites. Yeah, he's 8-3 on both FanDuel and DraftKings. In on him for sure. The Hawks side. DeJounte Murray went off last game without Trae Young, but Trae Young is back tonight, and that complicates things a little bit on the Hawks side. So, not a ton stands out. If I was playing anyone on the Hawks side, I'd probably just go back to Murray. And then Clint Capella, I guess, is a little bit interesting at 6'2". The minutes are starting to, 27, 27, 28. And he's actually played pretty well in 4 straight games. So, yeah, maybe a little bit of Clint Capella in those Chris Paul lineups potentially, but not a ton here overall.
Yeah. Frank Kaminsky revenge game.
That's hilarious.
The one that everyone was talking about, I mean, Bridges, again, you look at last game especially, people will look and see that 50. Before that, it is a lot of more to the floor side of things, but he's got a lot of games in the 40s. He's got a couple games in the 50s. I don't mind him at all, actually, at 7,000. He's one that I think, again, you could just – if you land there, it's not someone – I think when people land on a guy like him, they oftentimes say, like, let me try and adjust my roster. I kind of don't want him. But in some cases, if he popped up with a 45 ball or 50, you're laughing. So I actually don't hate that. Go ahead, Locke. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I was just going to touch on that too. I do like that call. I mean, if you're going to land on Bridges, I've found worse spots to go. I mean, the guy plays 38, 40, 42. He's going to play 40 minutes. I mean, he's going to chuck shots. But every time Booker's out, I do not mind playing Mikal Bridges at all. Yeah. Definitely some interest in him. I'm not going to jam him in, but if it's a last piece and I got 7K, I don't mind throwing him in there at all.
Yeah, I think that's another good spot that you could go to here. I don't see – when's the news usually come out? Like in 1 minute? Just trying to see if we could get some of that news for the early spot, but I don't think we're going to see a big – Big T just chimed in too. So how does Locks pick winners with the damn sun blinding him? And I noticed that too, actually, T. I didn't call it out just yet because it kept going away. And I was like, maybe I'm tripping out and just seeing something. But there must be like a little slice of paradise coming in there because he's got the light on his eyes. I could see it for sure.
Slice of paradise.
It's heater season. We're taking it on the 888.
Oh, heater season. Hey, Big T will be joining you in Colorado for the DK Fantasy Basketball World Championship after last night. So great call on that one. I'm going to try and join you guys. There's a $140 one out tonight. It's sold out now, but I've been trying to get in through that. Some of the higher stakes ones win tickets into. But tonight on DraftKings, the big 888 with the $250K up top. We've had some winners in that throughout the season. Shout out to our guy, I believe Sweet Boy, took it down early on, the first one to kick off the season. And we've had some other really good finishes with Run Pure members throughout the season in that. So definitely want to be a member at Run Pure Sports. If you're not already, you get the heat map, you get that flow chart we talked about, all the core plays, Big T's player pool. Go through, check all that out. JSU, hold, and a guest up to lock. So you get all the final news once this stuff does percolate a little bit more and we get more news on all these things. So lots to stick around for and stay tuned for. Didn't get to the 350 likes. So you guys know, as it always is, I hold it back. I'm just that guy, but I always give my play. I don't mind doing that. These guys,
I'll give one.
Go back and forth about who's sharper than who earlier. I know who's not sharpest at NBA, and it's me. So I'll give my play out, and these guys.
That is. I gotta say though, that's a bad ratio for a Tambo-led show. Like the Sunday morning shows, like rolling into the wood, like you dominate. Like that is chat.
We got
like
time, so I can speak on that.
You better pound it like very fast if you want the rich parents play of the day. Like
yeah, we can let them go. Give it a minute here, but I will say this, Hoop. This is the situation because I only do the one NBA show a week. I do the NFL show. That was the main one every week. We did other ones, but that's like the key show. NBA, the freeloaders and the regulars and even the members, I'll call them out. They're stingy on the likes because they don't want these plays given out. They want to save them for the members. They've said it. They like to wait around and not get to the number so that they can just get those plays in the Discord only. It's a big member base when it comes to that versus NFL was a lot of non-members just checking out the best free show in the industry. They're willing to help out and support and give because they don't necessarily know what's behind closed doors. So I will say that it is an interesting note, but the NBA viewers are less likely to give us a like. I have noticed
less
that.
Incentivized. Yeah, I see what you're saying. But man, I mean, still, good mojo, supporting the product. I mean,
and it's for the future too. Like that's what I'll say. For example, my guy Romeo, again, shout out to him, shipped $35K last night. For those that don't know the story, I know he's trying to reach out to me. It's been a busy day. I'm doing golf, and now this, but we'll get to him. I love my guy Romeo. I actually staked him. He won something that I put out where I give away free money. I gave him money. He's ran up the bankroll, and now he's really ran it up and got to 35K. We love to see it. That's the good mojo. When people hit the like, they don't realize that it's not just about today, right? It's what the future mojo is as well. And the point being behind that is that, like tonight, he wants to give away two $200 tickets. When I get off this show, I'm going to tell him, give them away, get a hold of JSU and Holden, and give them out to the members at Run Pure Sports. It's an added bonus of being a member. True. Would we give them away for free? Sure. But if we were getting the love reciprocated backwards, it's a free show. It's free to hit the like. It doesn't take more than 2 seconds. It's the easiest thing you can do in the world to show support. If you can't afford being a member, if you don't want to be a member, if you don't care, it's still easy to hit a like button. And we don't always need to incentivize and say, here's free money to hit it. That's just the point. We won't. We'll just give it to the members. It's that easy. Everything we do is free for the most part. And then we have great premium stuff behind the scenes, but we don't hold back very much with the free stuff. So again, keep that in mind for future reference. You're following people on Twitter, retweet their stuff, like it, do all that. All these factors are what help people out. Brands, personal brands, everything. So we don't mind it, what you guys want to do, but we'll definitely stick by it. That rant got us to 330. So how are we feeling, boys? You want to do the plays of the day? I'm sure they'll hit those likes as the three of us get through them and we round the show out.
Yeah, we got to do it. I mean, I'm a new member here to the Wednesday crew. Like we got to do it.
You may think you're a new member, but you're an honorary member, Hoop. And with that, what that means is, what do we got? The Hoop Rich Parents Play of the Day. Hoopster. We got your thumbnail, man. What do you got? Give us your play.
Oh, I got a tough decision because I got some plays I like tonight. But I gotta go to my I gotta go with my man Fred VanVleet. I mean, just love him at 8.1K in that matchup against Utah. Floor of 40, ceiling of like 60. VanVleet is the rich parents play of the day.
I got to follow it. It's a hard act to follow when you gave the same speech I was going to give on my floor ceiling combo, but I am worried Locks will steal my boy. Always going with my dude, the Tambo, Lambo, Rambo play of the night. this isn't the play of the day. This is like hoop. This is the play of the night. And it is SGA. My guy, always going to him 10-2. I know some like Steph there. There's other guys on the slate that you can pay up for, but I got to go with SGA. Floor of 40, ceiling of 60. Guy like Locke said, doesn't give you less than 40 though. And the upside there, the times he gets to the foul line alone are incredible just to rack him up there. And then the peripherals, the total in that game, everything I think we could see with a back and forth. So definitely in on my guy, SGA. And then Locks, you get to round us out, my friend. We've got the Goldilocks play of the night. And I think we switched the logo here. I don't remember it being like this. It looks even better now. There's some additional ads there that I don't remember in the past. But go ahead, man. Give us your Goldilocks.
Is that Mrs. Locks? Is that Mrs. Locks?
Is that Mrs. Locks? Yeah.
No, that'd be perfect if it was, though. We should get that on there.
I'm going to tell Helmet to edit that up for next week. Maybe we can do that. Go ahead, though.
That's funny. Yeah, I was going to take your boy, but I'll switch it up here. It's going to be one of the first games of the night. I think Baines sits, and these two just go back and forth. It's going to be a high-scoring game, but I'm going to stick to Dollar Dame. I think it's Dame time. He's going to go nuts tonight. I think Ja's going to go nuts too, but Dame's going to get the better of him here. So Damian Lillard, my play of the day, the Goldilocks play of the night.
You know what? And I just realized too after this, because you know how much I love Ja, and everyone on the show that watches this in the past knows how much I love Ja. It is such a good spot, and he's $200 more than SGA. But I got to go with my guy SGA tonight. I really do like him a little bit more. So maybe you can get them both in. I don't know if I can, but I'm definitely picking SGA over Ja. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's him tonight instead, right? He's going up against Dame Lillard. So you talked about it's going to be a good little spot there. So anything else that you want to talk about, Hoop, before we get out of here?
Yeah, we'll have all the PGA content rolling out. I'm assuming this evening. Everything should be done tomorrow morning. We'll be in the Discord because we're still on the West Coast, so we got that extra few hours, depending on which coast you're on or which time zone you're in, to tinker with those lineups. So yeah, looking forward to that event, the AT&T Pro-Am, and like I said, all that content will be up, and then obviously we'll have all our NBA stuff dropping here soon as well.
Yeah, it's going to be a good week. As always, lots of shippers, lots of winners up top. Locks, final thoughts before we get out of here?
Yeah, no, just pay attention to the Discord. We'll be in there. I'm sure all three of us, or at least a couple of us in there, just updating you guys on injury news throughout the night. So, yeah, pay attention to Up the Lock. Let's have some shippers, and we'll see you guys at the top. Yeah, code LOX15, LOX15. If you guys do want to join and get in there, I'll be in the Discord heading to watch that Up to Lock show, getting all the info. I got some, like I said, big entry tonight in the 888. Want a ticket into that, so I'm excited for that one. Some stuff going on over on FanDuel too, where you can apply some of the stuff, bring it over there. But they'll have all the news. I like to have it up on my screens. You can have the cores up on one side, the show up on the other, the lineups. It depends on how many screens you got, I guess. I feel bad saying that you can have all these screens up, but I'm just saying if you've got your setup ready, I like to have it so you can have it all going at the same time. Build it out, good mojo, get the winners in, and then we celebrate later on in the evening with the screenshots. So do us a favor, hit that like button on the way out if you haven't already. That's going to do it for this time, though. So for Hoop, for Locks, and for myself, Toe Tag and Tambo, we'll see you guys next time.